I think that's one of the most frustrating things about anxiety or fears in general is they just kind of tunnel vision you. The more loved and cared for we feel, the smarter we get. Don't let your heart get cold.
I'm just going to let him be my therapist for a podcast session. Welcome to the Grace Marriage Podcast. I'm Brad Rhoads.
And I'm Marilyn Rhoads. We're here to help you build a marriage that's stronger, more connected, and full of grace.
I'm Rick Dayton, joining Brad and Marilyn as we bring you weekly conversations designed to inspire and equip you to live intentionally in your marriage.
We'll share practical tips, powerful stories, and strategies to help you and your spouse grow closer and thrive together.
So whether you're just starting out or have been married for years, there's always room to grow. Let's do this together. This is the Grace Marriage Podcast.
Welcome to the Grace Marriage Podcast. I'm here with an outstanding pastor, outstanding counselor, and even better friend, Nathan Thompson. Nathan, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thanks for having me, Brad. Honored to be here.
How are things at your little church?
Our little church is doing great. We're just multiplying, and God's doing really incredible things. So it's,
tell the audience how big your little church is.
we're over 30,000 people at this point, and I think 16 or 17 campuses. I really cannot keep up with the amount of campuses. I think that's lowballing it, though.
Well, I grew up in Madisonville, Kentucky, population 20,000. So you're 50% bigger than my hometown. So, well, welcome to the podcast, Nathan. We're going to do something a little different than just give our, Nathan's an excellent therapist and counselor, and he's been one for years. And I'm just going to let him be my therapist for a podcast session. And hopefully I'll learn from it. And hopefully our audience will learn from Nathan's wisdom. So Nathan, take it over.
Okay, good. I'll pretend that you just walked through the door, Brad, for our follow-up appointment here and kind of start off how I start off most of my sessions and just welcome back, Brad. What's been going on since we last talked, and how have things been?
Quite a bit. We've had one of my kids had a failed adoption. We had a car wreck that my daughter's okay, but it's a pretty stressful thing. My wife's had kind of a downturn in her health a little bit. I had a little health scare, and yeah, it's been a rough couple of weeks. So that's what's happened since we talked last.
Yeah, that sounds like that's been a rough couple of weeks. Sounds incredibly stressful. How have you been doing?
I wouldn't give myself an A. I got dominated by fear. Fear, just like, what's the doctor going to say? What does this mean? A lot of that stuff. And just kind of had that pit in your stomach that never leaves. And that I was just I couldn't enjoy anything. So Marilyn had some scheduled me to play golf with friends for my birthday, but I really couldn't really enjoy golf with friends for my birthday because it was like this like looming thing was, it was stealing from me quite a bit.
Yeah. What was the looming thing?
Just fear, just like my mind. I've had I have a compulsive mind, so I can think on something and really process and really, but when it goes on something negative or fearful, I'm good at overthinking. And then I did a little Googling, a little AI work too, which, just it's not usually overly helpful to use AI and Google on your own health diagnoses.
Yeah. So you kind of sounds like you've been really battling some fears around some health concerns. Yeah. You said that you got not quite an A. That's interesting that you went right to the grade. Is that something that you kind of do with yourself from time to time?
That's a great question. Yes, I didn't really think about it, but yes, in fact, a lot of it last week was fear, but also frustration with myself that I was so fearful, because it was like, I want my belief and faith to be so strong that, it's like, I look, to die is gain, that's what Paul says, to die is gain. And then I get a potential negative news and I'm hardly functional. That just frustrated me.
Yeah. So you had some frustration on top of the fear.
Yes.
Did that how did that affect your anxiety? Did it help? Was it helpful? Did it compound it, or
Yeah, it
kind of?
compounded. Yeah, I'd say it compounded it.
Okay. Yeah. So how have you handled that? How have you processed through that since you got kind of hit with that initial wave? Because you just rattled off a bunch of things that I think would flatten anybody.
I got a pretty good report Friday from the doctor. He said there's a 96 to 98% chance everything's fine, but we just want to follow it. So um, that didn't provide the immediate relief I hoped, because I think I was so wound up that even good news didn't like do what it hoped. But
Yeah.
that certainly helped. I've got good friends. I've gotten a little better at talking out things than I used to, and that's helped some. Um, I feel like the Lord convicted me to start winning the small battles, because like when I got dominated, I wasn't exercising as much. I wasn't as diligent with my quiet time. I was drinking more coffee and less water. It's kind of like so
Yeah.
so. I know performance won't fix it, but bad performance doesn't help anything either.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to shoot yourself in the foot. I know that I can fall in the same rut, same pattern. Eat a little junk food late at night to deal with stress and some fears, and only
I,
wake up with a
I
hurt stomach.
Yeah, I lean on the 4 to 5 bowls of cereal thing, and it's like, I mean, it's like if somebody watched me after 9 o'clock when I'm not doing well, it would be good TV. I mean, I won't even be hungry till 2 the next day. I ate so much. I mean, literally, it's like I wake up like with a food hangover and literally barely can even eat lunch.
Yeah, yeah. You forget about your problems because your stomach hurts so bad. You got to deal with the immediate
Yeah,
pain of your stomach. You know, But oh man, yeah. So it sounds like a little bit of the good report. It kind of was a little bit of an initial release valve, so to speak, and it's like it's going to be okay, most likely. Not the end of the world physically, but didn't quite give you the relief that you were hoping. Like just back to resetting.
yeah, and worked with some significant work stressors on top of it. It's like I was previously dominated by work stressors before you superimposed the health stressors on top of it. So I think that kind of set my car spinning a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Well, it sounds like you've done some healthy things though too in the process, is reaching out to people that love you around you, and processing through it, and so I don't think that you might not be getting an A, but it doesn't sound like you're mismanaging things either. It sounds like you're doing the next right thing and the next healthy thing that you can do for yourself, and that's allow yourself to be loved right now and cared for. Um, are you doing that with friends and family? Are you coworkers as well, or?
Primarily Marilyn, my wife, and then I've got some friends, including you and I, talking a little bit offline about it. Um, and as we're talking, it kind of opens my eyes to that. I've kind of put too much of my focus on the negative, because during that time, I've had breakfast with my daughter 2 different times. My daughter went to Nashville with me. We walked around downtown Nashville. I've got a weekend scheduled with my daughter in Cincinnati, just the two of us this weekend. So I think for me, sometimes when difficult things happen, they become too dominant, and I don't see the goodness of God in life, as well. So
Mm,
as we're talking, it
right.
kind of opens my eyes to I've gotten a little too dominated by the difficult circumstance and not put any focus on the good circumstance.
Hmm.
As I think, they found this thing. If it is something, that's a good thing that they found it early. If it's not something, it's good. If it is something, it's good they found it. So there's different ways to look at things, and I don't know if I've looked at it the most helpful way.
Yeah, yeah. What's most helpful for you to get out of that all or nothing thinking? What helps you? What tends to help you? I know you've mentioned before that you're kind of recovering, uh, performance based guy. Maybe with some slight pockets of perfectionism kind of that go along with being a performance-based guy. But what's been helpful for you historically getting out of these types of anxious moments?
The only thing that's ever given me relief is all of a sudden it's just like a kind of a re-revelation of grace where it's just everything's okay because of God. And then slowing down, not hurrying, not worrying about work, not worrying about ministry, not worrying about health, but just resting in Him. I can't say I've done that effectively the last couple weeks. I've been too wound up, but that's when I have done well. I've actually enjoyed just walking in an aisle of a grocery store. Um, but I haven't enjoyed that in a while. So
Yeah. I think that's one of the most frustrating things about anxiety or fears in general is they just kind of tunnel vision you um, in that catastrophic thought process. It just kind of fixates on uh, basically survival. It's all, I have to do, I have to get rid of all these dangers and all these potential threats to my life in order for me to be at peace, in order for me to be okay. And certainly not true. You're okay. You're always okay, and you're going to be okay. And even if it's not okay, it's okay. And that's a hard thing to subscribe to and buy into when the anxious alarms are going off. But I'm glad that you're getting some relief from that. I'm glad that it's dying down, and um, just keep monitoring that on some level, just to make sure, keep processing through and talking through it with people around you that love you. uh, Perfect love casts out fear. And I do believe the more loved and cared for we feel, the smarter we get as far as our abilities to think clearly. We get the gift of sanity restored to us, and sobriety of thought come along with that. So you've done it in the past, and I know you're going to keep doing it and keep moving forward in God's grace.
I guess my question should be when you're in the middle of it. So you're just, you're not
Hmm.
doing well inside. What's your advice? Like what's advice in like the middle of that? I mean,
Hmm.
what would you tell
Yeah.
me?
Yeah, my advice, I don't dolly out advice often, but I would say I'll just speak from a personal standpoint and we'll kind of go from there. Uh, Self disclosure is, I've dealt with bouts of anxiety, bouts of depression, bouts of full blown rage and anger before. And I don't think that those things are uncommon to man. I don't think there's anything, no temptation to seize you that's uncommon to man. So, I feel at least okay that I have dealt with those things and continue to deal with those things. My advice would be to don't disown those. There's a whole book in the Bible dedicated to like music and songs, in the Psalms, and where it's just basically like if you had an emotional soundtrack, that would be it. Where you're given music to the full range of human emotions that we go through, and this is given to us by a man who is said to be a man after God's own heart, King David. Jesus references David's Psalms frequently in his ministry. And it's a beautiful thing to be able to not disown your emotional state. I think it helps us when we don't suppress it to experience it and to allow ourselves to experience it in a judgment free way. I think that that's something that I've heard from you, Brad, that I would challenge you to continue to take up with the Lord is to eliminate your judgments of your own emotional state. Uh, Anytime we start to download that in a way that criticizes ourselves or even makes our emotional states a moral issue always, we tend to like add bricks upon bricks upon bricks, and it doesn't allow us the space to move through it. And the overcompensated thing to do with that is it's to say that I can't experience this and it's intolerable. It's impossible to deal with this. And I would say when we become judgmental of our emotional states, it is impossible to deal with. But if you eliminate at least that part of it, then for me, I've been able to give myself space at that point, um, because I've accepted that I am anxious and that God loves me, and therefore I can love myself and accept myself, and then I can deal with whatever it is that I'm feeling, without feeling the weight of all the extra stuff on top of it. And then going to the Psalms is a great thing. I tend to go to different music. I tend to go for walks, and I give God the full expression of what I'm going through. It's, God, I am scared to death. I'm frustrated that I am scared. Uh, if this reveals anything about me, like, point that out. I'm not going to go attacking myself over this, but I know that you love me. I know you care for me, and help me to get my eyes off of myself. Help me to just keep my gaze on you, fixated on you. And I do think that, for lack of a better term, formula of giving yourself permission to lament, giving yourself permission to be anxious, giving yourself permission to be angry, uh, and then reprocessing it in a way that fixes your gaze upon the Lord is exactly what King David did. He rinsed and repeated that throughout his life. And I think that that's a good way. Um, and call friends, do that with them. I don't do that as well as I would like to do, and that's a growth point for me still after almost 50 years of living. That I don't My wife is much, much, much better at that than I am, and she tends to be the one that gets the majority of my uh, relational processing. But I've got good friends that are there for me, that if I utilize them more often, they would welcome that and they would love that. But I'm such an introvert, I tend
Yeah.
to that
It
tends to be a resort that I don't lean into as quickly as I.
so it's, I guess, to sum it up, you'd say, and hopefully this encourages our listeners as well, that it's okay. You're going to have bad weeks. You're going to have hard weeks. You're going to have weeks of fear and anxiety, and God loves you, and it's going to be okay. And don't worry about worrying so much.
Yeah. Don't worry about worrying so much. And also, I would add to that, be careful about your judgments that you're saying regarding your own emotional state. If you can get out of downloading your emotions in a judgmental way towards yourself, I believe you're well on the road to feeling better.
Yeah, that's helpful. And I have a tendency, I don't know if anybody else does this, when something bad happens, like when Marilyn's dad suddenly died, when a friend of mine's wife was suddenly killed pregnant with my drunk driver. Sometimes I go to nothing matters. Who cares? Like, then I can't really enjoy life or have trouble even motivating to do the things I ought to do, because who really cares? I mean, life's so brief and we're gone anyway. It's so for me, I can almost get this cavalier, nothing matters attitude, and just kind of,
Apathy.
apathy is a great word, and I was going there some last week. Um, how do you Is that normal? How do you fight it?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, apathy is normal. The way that I have been taught it, and the way that I kind of see it, is like it's a defense mechanism to guard against intense pain emotionally. Um, it's easier to just shut off the valve and say, I don't care. Well, of course you care. Care has not gone anywhere because we say we don't care. And just because I'm feeling flat, or I am like, what's the point? Why does it matter? That's more of us bumping up against the limits of the prolonged intense pain. All the feelings will resurface. as far as your desires, that life does matter, that it is worth it. Um, but for a while, it's okay to say, it's too much for me right now to deal with, and I might have to take small bites along the way. But I'm not going to be committed to my apathy, because that obviously is not a direction to hide behind. Uh, it's a temporary. Most of our emotional defenses are temporary, and if we allow them uh, the time and the space that they need, such as like denial and part of the shock of when you lose somebody or something tragic happens, that's kind of a God-given, God grace kind of insulation towards intense pain that we just really don't have the capacity to completely absorb and process through all at once. So we have to take those small bites along the way, and the apathy will give way again to life. It will give way again to desire and and renewed sense of self. God has done that over and over again in my life. He wakes up and shows us mercies anew. And so, yeah, so
It's what you're
that's
saying.
kind of my
It
short
it
response.
reminds me when I was in a season of apathy. I called my mentor before he passed, and I've talked to you about him some. But I said, Doug, I don't care. And I said, I know I should, but it's like Marilyn's upset about things. I'm looking at her like, yeah, whatever. She didn't look in my mind that, I mean, it ain't doing it didn't clicking. And nothing Marilyn hates worse than apathy. And she just looked at me like I said, like, who cares? And so I did. I mean, she could see it, and man, it just makes her furious. So I called Doug and said, Doug, Marilyn's upset. And frankly, I feel pretty cold and I really don't care. What do I do? And he paused and just kindly and gently said, Brad, you don't need to do it.
Mm,
And I was like, what? He goes, just stop. I'll tear up because I miss him. He'll say, just stop and just accept the grace of Jesus that covers your apathy. You're in
yeah.
right standing, unconditional favor. You're good. It's all good, Brad. You don't need to do a thing, child of God. And like I was
That's
looking
right.
for like, what do I need to do to get out of this? And he's like, you don't have to do anything because he already did it. He did
Yeah.
it. You don't have to. So he said, just go home. Just go home. Tell Marilyn. Confess your apathy. Tell Marilyn how it probably made her feel. And give you the grace, and then go out to dinner. And we went out to dinner that night. And Nathan, we had fun as if neither one of us had ever sinned. I mean, she was mad at
Mm.
me. I was apathetic. And then
Oh,
all of a sudden, Doug just saying, you need to do nothing, but just confess to Marilyn. It literally just showed, it just put the ministry of reconciliation on display and the power of grace. It's just like, it was unbelievable. It wasn't the response I expected. I didn't expect, okay, you've done bad, do nothing.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's such a cool experience. And thank you for sharing that, because that's, I think, a very powerful example of, when we repent, we confess and turn towards each other, and there's forgiveness, that there's restoration and joy on the other side of that. I think learning through that, though, on that apathy piece is like trying to understand, because I think us guys, we run away from when we can't fix things. Somebody told me one time, like, there's no feeling a man has a harder time dealing with than helplessness.
So
When we feel like we can't fix it, or we can't, help the situation, then we tend to bow out of it by default, and we tend to run from it. And the point that I heard when you said that is, you said the word, I was cold. I was cold. And that's the challenge for me, and I think for us, a lot of us men, is, um, don't let your heart get cold, when you can't fix things. Keep your heart soft. And your wife, our wives, they don't need us to fix things. They need us to love them, right? And they need us to have compassion for where they're at. And if we can use that problem solving part of us men to really fight the real battle there, then I think we hang the enemy by the noose he's
Yeah.
created.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. Well, Nathan, thank you so much for being on the podcast, and thank you for being more than that, being a good friend. And at Grace Marriage and this podcast, the big stick is invest in marriage, and a lot of investing in marriage is really taking care of yourself and pursuing the grace of God, and getting yourself in a really good spot spiritually. And you don't do that through personal effort; you do that through just accepting, believing, and trusting. And it's tough. It's tough. So folks that really have easy burden, light yoke, rested soul, Sabbath rest to Christ, they tend to be pretty good spouses. Those that are stressed and overwhelmed by the world tend to be pretty edgy. So Nathan, thank you for investing in so many marriages. Thank you for investing in me, and thank you for being part of the podcast.
Absolutely, brother. Love you, Brad.
Hey, love you too. God bless. Thank you for joining us on the Grace Marriage Podcast. We really hope you're feeling inspired to take intentional steps to grow in your marriage.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with a friend. Your support helps us spread the message of grace and reach even more couples.
And if you have a moment, please leave us a review. Your feedback means a lot to us and helps others discover the podcast.
To learn more about how you can grow in your marriage, visit us at gracemarriage.com. Keep building stronger, grace-filled marriages.
We'll see you next week on the Grace Marriage Podcast. Until then, keep growing in grace.